Hello and welcome to Motors for the Masses, and today I'm at Moonraker Motorcycles in Norwich to have a look at this, the special version of the Royal Enfield 350 Classic, the GOAN. And we're going to see just how different it is, or similar it is, to this, the Classic 350. So let's roll the intro and get cracking. Well, according to the Royal Enfield UK website, these are exactly the same in every way, specification-wise. But I can already see they're not. So let's have a look at just how similar, or just how different they actually are. First off, let's put the specs up of both bikes, according to the Royal Enfield website. So the GOAN has a 100 by 19 front tyre, whereas the Classic has a 90 by 19 front tyre. The GOAN has a 130 by 16 rear tyre and wheel setup, whereas the Classic has a 120 by 18 rear wheel setup. The seat height on the Classic is 820 millimeters. That's in the middle bit here. The seat height on the GOAN is 785 millimeters to the middle here. That's quite a bit of difference. The height to the handlebars on the Classic is 1.07 meters. 1.07 meters on the Classic. And the height to the handlebars on the GOAN is 1.17 meters. So that's 10 centimeters higher on the GOAN. That's that much, Royal Enfield. The foot peg is in line with the middle of the Royal Enfield symbol there, and the rear brake pedal is in line with the towards the first quarter of the engine block there on the Classic. And on the GOAN, the foot pedal is in the middle of that front bit where the brake lever is on the Classic, and the brake lever is actually in line with the exhaust. Again, that's a good 6 inches difference, so your feet are much further forward on the GOAN than they are on the Classic. The exhaust, rear mudguard and front mudguard are like this on the Classic, whereas they're like this on the GOAN. The lights and the indicators are the same, apart from the fact that they're orange on the Classic and white on the GOAN. This is the rear light cluster on the GOAN and the rear light cluster on the Classic. This is the passenger seat and rear grab handle on the Classic, and the rear passenger seat and the side grab handles on the GOAN. So let me have a sit on them both back to back and see how they feel. Not back to back, side by side, but you know exactly what I mean. Well, the Classic feels like a classic bike. It's like sitting on an old 1960s Triumph, or 1960s Royal Enfield, to be fair. You've got the lower handlebars, a very classic feel, sitting very much on top of the bike. A very comfy seat, nice and boingy. I do like a bit of boing. So that's that on there. Now remember, I'm 5'10.5" with a 31.5-inch inside leg. Seated up, my legs are in line with the top of the tank here. Feet down, I've got easy ability to be flat-footed, and I can even stand up with a bit of rise on the seat there. Ooh. A chrome side stand doesn't do well for wet shoes. Now on the GOAN, I am definitely more in the bike here. Feet slightly more forward. My legs are in pretty much the same position with the top of the tank, although a little bit higher than they are on the Classic. The handlebars obviously definitely taller, and you're feeling more of a laid back cruiser style rather than sitting on top of a Classic bike. So you're definitely feeling in a more relaxed position. The seat, I have to say, feels more comfortable on this than it does on the Classic. Not that the Classic is uncomfortable, but this feels more softer. So yeah, not bad. What about the passenger? Well, let's have a feel again. Now this is a sort of a matte effect side stand, so it's easier for you to kick it down than it is with the chrome one, as your feet slip off that one. To stand, this one first. Easy to get a good reach on the rear foot peg lever, and you've got the handle on the side here. Nice and easy to get on the center stand. And with the Classic, again, easy to reach center stand. There's a little handle on the side here to help you. Both about the same. This one's a little bit easier. I mean, you have got a handle on the side here, which I think is pretty pointless, because it's you've got the grab handle here. I'll show you that in a second, but yeah, I think it's a bit of a pointless handle, that, because you've already got the grab handle, unless of course you go with the bobber look and you take that off. Fair point. Ignore that comment. I'll still show you it in a minute. So anyway, if I'm a passenger on the rear of the Classic, I always get nervous doing that. So very comfy, nice and spoingy. Yep, very comfortable for a passenger. Very comfortable indeed. A nice chunky rear peg, nice and rubberized to put your feet on. That feels absolutely great. What about the GOAN? Very comfortable as a passenger, that. Very comfortable. Okay, on the GOAN you've got exactly the same foot pegs. They got that bit right. Ooh. Harder seat. Not as much of it. It's not as wide and certainly not as padded. It's not bad, but it's nowhere near as comfortable as the Classic rear seat. What you also have on the GOAN is obviously the gear change, but then the rear heel kicker here to knock it into neutral, like they had on the Royal Enfields of old. However, they don't have that on the Classic, just the traditional gear up and gear down lever. Now, I did a review on the 350 Classic a few years ago when it first came out, and I have ridden it again recently. I won't be riding it today simply because, one, they don't have a demo of the 350 Classic here, and also I have ridden it in the past couple of weeks, so I do know how it rides and how it feels. And as I say, I shall put in clips of that original video I did so you can see the differences alongside. But I will be riding this one today, and we'll take it out in a moment. But first of all, what's the difference in price? Well, the Classic starts at just £4,459 and goes up to £4,619. The GOAN is just £100 more than the most expensive Classic at £4,719 on the road with a 3-year warranty. However, at the moment, Moonraker do have a sale on the 3 original colours in stock, starting at just £4,159. So have a look at the link in the description for details if you're interested. So then it's time to get the GOAN out on the road and see how different it is to the Classic. On the Royal Enfield 350 Classic. Now this is a busy road, so the first test, does it go? 20 horsepower, 20 pounds-foot of torque. Well, it's quite nippy. Up to 40, speed limit's 50 here, and we're at 50. That's pretty good, actually. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. Okay. It's a lovely note. Great sound to that exhaust. Suspension works quite nicely on these bumpy roads. Very bumpy, and my voice really isn't distorted very much. That is absorbing the bumps quite nicely. A lovely padded seat, so it's nice and comfortable. Well, it's got some get up and go, to be fair. yes. Nice. And up to 60, no problem. Oh, I like this. What a fun bike. Well, the grips are nice and comfortable as well. I have to say the mirrors are not amazing. It's about 70% visibility, maybe a little bit less. So again, as usual, all it needs is an extra inch, and then you'll be fine. Or some mirror extenders. I'm just going where I think my nose is taking me. I don't really know where I'm going. But to be honest, I'm not that bothered, because this is just great to ride. I didn't think I'd like this as much as this. 20 horsepower doesn't sound very appealing, does it? But it is nippy, it is fun. Oh, turns into the corners nice and sharp. You've got quite a lot of confidence that it's going to get round. These tyres, even though they're fairly new, are holding their own pretty well. Gear change is very simple, nice and positive. Oh yes! I love how padded the seat is. Even all the bumps and lumps, the suspension works fantastically, and your bum is absorbed nicely in this seat. Tell you what, if you want the feel of a classic bike but the ride of a modern bike, this is definitely one for the list. The 350 doing 70 miles an hour again on paper is like, what, really? But yes, it's the only legal limit there is on dual carriageways and motorways. But also, on this style of bike, you don't really need to go any faster. You don't really want to. It's designed for what I'm doing now. 30 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour on the little back roads and the country lanes. Here we go, dual carriageway, up to 70. Will she do it with ease? $50 already. 60. I'm not going to lean over. Yes, 70. It won't go anymore, but it will do 70. Okay, here we go on the Royal Enfield Classic GOAN, and instantly it feels power wise, funnily enough, the same as the Classic 350, because it's got the same power unit, same amount of torque, 20 brake horsepower, 20 pounds-foot of torque. So it feels the same. Obviously we'll see what it's like when we get it on the dual carriageway as to whether it goes 70 and stays there. This bike's done 118 miles from new, so it's not a massive amount, but it's enough to be able to take it up to dual carriageway or motorway speeds. It's very comfortable, very comfortable. The seat is lovely. I'm in a nice relaxed, laid back position, much more so than the Classic. The Classic feels, as I say, like you're sitting on top of a bike, and it gives you that very old school feel, whereas this just gives you a nice relaxing cruiser feel. And I'm sitting here on a very comfortable seat, cruising along with handlebars that are in a very nice position. Obviously they can be adjusted here, forward and backward if you wish, if you've got shorter or longer arms, but at the moment this is absolutely perfect for me. Visibility out of the mirrors, thank you. If you're going to pull out, Jesus. So the visibility out of the mirrors is very, very good. I've got probably about between 95 and 100% visibility, which is fantastic. So I've got slightly longer stalks than I would have on the Classic, so I've got better visibility. That's a good start. Riding at 30 through town, it feels very easy, very comfortable, absolutely simple to ride. Doesn't feel cumbersome or difficult in any way. It's such a simple riding bike. Good balance at slow speed. Clutch is nice and light. Gear change is nice and light also, but very positive. In and out of gear, no problem. Doesn't feel woolly. Doesn't feel as though, am I in gear? No, it very much is. So that's a good sign. I've got nothing to complain about at the moment. As I say, we'll see what it's like when we get on the dual carriageway. However, you have to remember, this is not a commuter bike if you're doing motorway miles. It's not going to be that style of bike. It's going to be a daily commuter to and from work maybe, or just whatever you do, having fun, a nice relaxing weekend cruiser, but something that you can sit happily on 60-mile-an-hour roads. Hopefully we'll find that out again in a minute, but at the moment, so relaxing, so comfortable. I like the height of these handlebars. You're not leaning over, you're very much in the bike, and it just feels very armchair-esque. You don't feel as though you want to ride really fast. Nice note from that exhaust, gives again that classic feel. And you just don't have the urge to go, well, you know what, I want to do 90 miles an hour, because that's illegal and you can't. Well, you know what I mean. Avoid the oil spill. So from 30 to 40, I'm in 4th gear at the moment. You do have a gear indicator on there, but I'm in 4th gear at the moment. So 4th gear up to 40, no problem. And I'm going to stick it in 5th, as you only get 5 gears, you don't get 6, and go up to 60 from 35. No, I'm not, because I'm going to have to slow down. But yeah, it does it without any juddering. It pulls away very nicely. Decent gearing. Nice easy reach on the gear levers. I've got a little bit of, tiny bit of vibration in my feet, but it doesn't feel off-putting, but there is a vibration there, I have to say. And we're up to 60 miles an hour, pulling out onto the dual carriageway. It is a very slow slog, but are we going to reach 70 before the roundabout? 65, 65, 65. I think the answer to that question is probably not. No, 68. So yeah, it's not really a bike to cruise at 70. The next bit of dual carriageway is slightly downhill, so I'm going to come off this roundabout and see if I can get up to 70. As I say, bear in mind, this has only done 120 miles now, 122 miles. Okay, 3rd gear up to 50. Out we go. 4th gear up to 60. I'm going to give it a little bit more, up to 65 in fourth, and fifth being pretty much an overdrive gear like a lot of bikes. Come on, 66, 60. So yeah, do not buy a Royal Enfield if you are wanting to sit at 70 miles an hour all day long. Not at this capacity anyway, not a 350, because it's not what it's designed for, and it's not that style of bike. It's like I said, it's a relaxing cruiser. I'm only really doing it just to see if it will, and once it's running I should imagine it will, but at the moment with 122 or 123 miles on the clock, no. Now there is a bit of a side wind, I am being blustered about a little bit, and there's a couple of moments it's going whoop, but not so I'm scared of it, but you can feel it. I mean, the tyres are probably still a little bit cold, but there we go. Again, it's just a type of bike you want to just cruise and bimble, relax, don't need to be going fast, just cruise, and it does that very well. Lots of lumpy bumpy roads like this one here, it's absorbing it quite nicely on my posterior, not really getting anything tragic at all. No, it's just nice and relaxing. Suspension works well, soaking up the lumps and bumps, and the seat cushions your bum really well. Again, because of the style, you don't really want to be whipping around these bends in the wet at 60. I mean, in the dry I'd feel a bit more confident, because as I say, once you get a little bit of that crosswind, it is sort of whoop, 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 feel like a little bit whipping. I don't know if it's because it's got cold tyres or easy. But yeah, at 50 mile an hour on these back roads, absolutely ideal, absolutely perfect. Now, if it was this one or the Classic, for an everyday rider, I would say this one is better, because it's a much more relaxed feel. As I say, you're in the bike rather than on it. I'm going to go for an overtake, and it just feels much easier to just sit and relax on. Much nicer than the Classic as a daily plodder. The Classic's great, and it's a nice bike if you want to feel as though you're on an old classic bike, and it still is comfortable and very easy to use as a daily rider. I would say, if anything, the Classic does feel as though you can whip it round the corners a bit easier. That's probably because of the handlebars and where your feet are. So it does feel as though, oh, mud, that mud on a corner, never good. It does feel as though you can ride the Classic a bit nippier and whip it around corners a bit better, and this just feels as though it wants to float at slightly slower speeds. So they do have their purpose. If you want a more laid back plodder, I'd say the GOAN is a better buy. And I think it looks great in this blue and orange. Great colour scheme. If you want something a bit more of a classic feel, then the Classic is the way to go. So it definitely lives up to its name. So there you go. That sort of brings me to the end of this video. I'll be back next with something else, and then I'll be up at Motorcycle Live reporting from there. So please don't forget to like, subscribe and share this video. Click the notification bell for more uploads, and I will see you in the next video. So until then, please ride and drive carefully, but have fun. Bye bye.